The morning sun rose over the golden wheat fields of Korra 5. The light touched the farmhouses, the small towns, and the capital city of New Busan. Children walked to school. Farmers checked their crops. It was a peaceful day, like every other day on this colony world. Commander Yuna Park stood at her office window and watched the city wake up. She was 52 years old, with gray streaks in her black hair and tired lines around her eyes. 20 years ago, she had been a soldier in the Earth Defense Force. Now she was the civilian administrator of this colony, responsible for 2.3 million people living on a planet 4,200 light-years from Earth. She liked this life. It was quiet. It was simple. The biggest problems she faced were water distribution and harvest schedules. After a lifetime of war and violence, Yuna had found peace on Korra 5. That peace ended at 9:47 inches the morning. Her communication officer, a young man named Taeho Kim, burst into her office without knocking. His face was white with fear. "Commander," he said. "You need to see this." Yuna followed him to the control room. The large screen on the wall showed the space above their planet. What she saw made her blood turn cold. Ships. Hundreds of ships. They were massive and black, covered in sharp angles and strange symbols. They blocked out the stars, like a dark curtain falling over the sky. "The Vorath Dominion," Yuna whispered. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Vorath. They were conquerors. They had destroyed 17 species and enslaved dozens more. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who stood in their way. The Galactic Federation had been fighting them for centuries, but the Vorath kept growing stronger. And now, they were here, above a small farming colony with no military fleet and no heavy weapons. "Where is the Federation patrol?" Yuna asked. Taeho pointed to a corner of the screen. Yuna saw the wreckage of ships floating in space. The patrol fleet that was supposed to protect them had already been destroyed. The battle had lasted less than 10 minutes. A message came through the communication system. The voice was deep and cruel. Speaking in the common galactic language, "Humans of this world, I am Supreme Commander Vorath Krell. Your protectors are dead. Your allies have abandoned you. You have two choices: surrender and be harvested, or resist and be destroyed. You have 1 hour to decide." The message ended. The control room was silent. Yuna looked at the faces of her people. She saw fear. She saw despair. Some of the younger officers were crying. Yuna walked to the communication console. She pressed the button to record a message and sent it across all channels, to every ship and every station that might be listening. "This is Commander Yuna Park of Korra 5. We are under attack by the Vorath Dominion. Our patrol fleet has been destroyed. We have 2.3 million civilians with no military support. We are requesting immediate assistance from the Galactic Federation and from Earth. Please respond. Please help us." She sent the message, then she sent it again and again. The first response came from the Federation Council. 3 hours later, Yuna gathered her senior staff to listen. "Commander Park," the message said. "The Federation Council has reviewed your situation. We regret to inform you that Korra 5 has been classified as a strategic loss. The Vorath fleet in your sector is too powerful for us to challenge. Sending reinforcements would result in unacceptable casualties. We advise you to negotiate surrender terms with the Vorath commander. The Federation will remember your sacrifice." Taeho slammed his fist against the wall. "They are leaving us to die." Dr. Minji Cho, the colony's chief medical officer, shook her head slowly. "They were never going to help us. We are too far away. We are not important enough." Sergeant Do-hyun Baek, the head of colony security, stood with his arms crossed. He was an old soldier, like Yuna. He had seen battles and lost friends. His face showed no surprise at the Federation's response. "What about Earth?" he asked. Yuna checked her console. Earth had received their message. The signal confirmation showed that it had arrived at the home planet. But there was no response. No acknowledgement. "Nothing. They have not replied," she said quietly. The room fell silent again. Everyone understood what this meant. The Federation had abandoned them. Earth had not answered. They were alone. The hour deadline passed. The Vorath began their invasion. Dropships fell from the sky like rain. They landed in the fields, in the towns, in the streets of New Busan. Vorath soldiers poured out of them. They were tall and terrible, with gray skin and 4 arms. They carried weapons that burned through walls and melted steel. The colonists had nothing to fight with. They had farming tools and kitchen knives. They had a small security force with basic weapons. Against the Vorath, it was like fighting a storm with bare hands. The first day, the Vorath took 50,000 people. They put them in transport ships and flew them away. No one knew where they went. No one wanted to know. Yuna watched from a hidden bunker beneath the city. Around her, the survivors huddled together. Children cried for their parents. Parents cried for their children. The sound of screaming came from above, muffled by the concrete walls. "What do we do?" Taeho asked her. Yuna closed her eyes. She thought about her years as a soldier. She thought about the battles she had fought, the enemies she had faced. She thought about what it meant to be human. Then she opened her eyes and stood up. "We fight," she said. "We cannot win. We cannot escape. But we can fight. We can make them pay for every life they take. We can show them that humans do not surrender. We can show them that humans do not break." Do-hyun nodded slowly. "If we are going to die, we die on our feet." Minji began organizing the medical supplies. "Then, we need to save as many as we can while we fight." Taeho sat down at a communication console. "I will keep sending messages. Someone might hear us. Someone might come." Yuna looked at her people. They were scared. They were hopeless. But they were still standing. They were still willing to try. She sent one final message to Earth that night. She did not know if anyone would ever hear it. She did not know if anyone cared. "This is Korra 5. The Federation has abandoned us. We are alone against the Vorath. We do not ask for miracles. We only ask that someone remembers we existed. We only ask that someone knows we did not go quietly. If anyone is listening, remember us. Remember what happened here." The message flew across the stars toward a silent Earth. And in the darkness of space, the harvest continued. The resistance began with small things. On the 3rd day, a farmer named Dongwon drove his harvester into a group of Vorath soldiers. He killed 4 of them before they shot him down. On the 5th day, a schoolteacher named Soo-jin led 40 children through the sewers to safety, while the Vorath searched the buildings above. On the 7th day, Sergeant Do-hyun Baek and his security team ambushed a Vorath patrol and captured their weapons. Yuna watched these small victories and felt something grow in her chest. It was not hope. Hope had died when the Federation abandoned them. It was something harder, something sharper. It was the stubborn refusal to give up. She organized the survivors into groups. The fighters joined Do-hyun's resistance force. The healers worked with Dr. Minji in the underground hospitals. The engineers and technicians salvaged equipment and built weapons from scraps. Everyone had a job. Everyone had a purpose. Taeho became their eyes in the sky. He flew an old cargo shuttle, painted black to hide in the night. He mapped Vorath positions, tracked their patrols, and found safe paths for refugees to escape. He was shot down twice but survived both times. The second time, he walked 30 kilometers through enemy territory with a broken leg before reaching friendly lines. "You should rest," Minji told him as she treated his wounds. Taeho shook his head. "I will rest when this is over." A young girl named Haejin became one of their most valuable fighters. She was only 16 years old, a student at the colony's technical school. Before the invasion, she had been building robots for a science competition. Now she built bombs. Haejin studied the captured Vorath equipment with intense focus. She learned their technology. She found their weaknesses. Within 2 weeks, she had designed a device that could disable Vorath weapons at close range. Within 3 weeks, she had figured out how to hack their communication systems. "They are not smarter than us," she told Yuna. "They just have better tools." But tools can be stolen. Tools can be broken. The Vorath Supreme Commander grew frustrated with the resistance. He had expected the humans to collapse quickly, like the other species he had conquered. Instead, they fought back with increasing skill and ferocity. They struck at night and vanished before morning. They turned the colony's underground tunnels into a maze that his soldiers could not navigate. They refused to break. On the 20th day, he broadcast a message to the colony. Humans, your resistance amuses me. I have conquered 17 species. I have broken empires that stood for 10,000 years. You are farmers and shopkeepers. You cannot win. Surrender now, and I will spare half of you. Continue fighting, and I will kill every single one of you. Yuna responded with her own broadcast. We heard your offer. Here is our answer. That night, Do-hyun led a team into the Vorath's main supply depot. They planted Heijin's explosives throughout the facility. The explosion destroyed 3 months of Vorath supplies and killed 200 enemy soldiers. The Supreme Commander stopped offering surrender. The days blurred together. Day 25, Day 30, Day 35. Each day brought more fighting, more death, more loss. The population of Korra 5 fell from 2.3 million to 1.5 million, then to 1 million, then lower. The Vorath were harvesting them. They took people in the thousands, loading them onto transport ships and sending them away. Some were taken for slave labor in Vorath mines. Some were taken for biological experiments. Some were taken for processing a word that no one wanted to think about too carefully. Minji worked without sleep, treating the wounded in her underground hospitals. She saved hundreds of lives. She lost hundreds more. Every night, she sat alone in the darkness and cried. Every morning, she wiped her tears and went back to work. How do you keep going? A young nurse asked her. Minji thought about the question. Because they need me. Because if I stop, more people will die. Because giving up is not something I know how to do. On day 38, Taeho intercepted a Vorath communication. What he heard made his blood freeze. Commander, he said, rushing into Yuna's bunker. They are planning to end this. They are bringing in orbital bombardment ships. They are going to destroy the entire colony. Yuna read the intercepted message. The Supreme Commander had grown tired of the game. The humans had killed too many of his soldiers and destroyed too much of his equipment. He wanted to make an example of Korra 5. He wanted to burn it to ash and let the galaxy see what happened to those who resisted the Vorath. The bombardment would begin in 3 days. Yuna gathered her remaining leaders. There were only 800,000 colonists left. Do-hyun had 400 fighters who could still hold a weapon. Heijin had enough explosives to destroy 1 or 2 enemy ships, but not an entire fleet. Minji had supplies for maybe 2 more weeks. We cannot stop them, Do-hyun said quietly. We never could. We just delayed them. Taeho stared at his console. Earth still has not responded. 40 days, and nothing. They have forgotten us. Heijin sat in the corner, working on a device. Her hands were steady, but her eyes were wet. Then we make them remember. We rig the city to explode. When the Vorath come to inspect the ruins, we take as many of them with us as we can. Yuna looked at each of them. These people had become her family over the past 40 days. They had fought beside her, bled beside her, and refused to break. They deserved better than this. They all did. I will address the survivors tonight, she said. They need to know what is coming. They need to know that we are proud of them. They need to know that they fought well. That night, Yuna stood before the remaining colonists in the largest underground shelter. The room was packed with people. Families huddled together. Children sat on their parents' shoulders. Everyone was tired. Everyone was scared. Everyone knew what she was about to say. My friends, Yuna began. Tomorrow begins our last 3 days. The Vorath are coming to destroy our world. We cannot stop them. We have no fleet. We have no reinforcements. Earth has not answered our calls. She paused. The silence was heavy. But I want you to know something. For 40 days, we have stood against one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. We have fought with farming tools and stolen weapons. We have protected our children and buried our dead. We have refused to surrender, refused to break, refused to let them take our dignity. Her voice grew stronger. The galaxy may forget us. History may never record our names. But we know what we did here. We know that we stood like humans should stand on our feet, fighting until the end. Whatever comes next, no one can take that from us. She looked up at the ceiling, at the sky beyond it, at the stars that held a silent earth. We are still here, she whispered. We are still fighting. If anyone is listening, remember us. 40 days of resistance. And Earth was still silent. The Galactic Federation Council met in a great hall on the planet Nexus Prime. Representatives from 47 species sat in a circle, their bodies and faces as different as the stars they came from. Some had scales, some had feathers, some had no bodies at all, existing only as patterns of light. They had gathered to discuss the war against the Vorath Dominion. Ambassador Sun Wuhan sat in the human section. He was a tall man, with a calm face and patient eyes. He had served as humanity's voice in the Federation for 15 years. In that time, he had learned that the older species did not respect humans. They thought humans were young, weak, and unimportant. A species that had only discovered faster than light traveled 2 centuries ago. A minor member of the galactic community. Today, he would speak about Korra 5. Ambassador Han, the council speaker said, "You requested time to address the council. You may speak." Sun Wu stood. He looked around the room at the faces of beings who had watched civilizations rise and fall for thousands of years. 40 days ago, he began, the Vorath Dominion attacked a human colony called Korra 5. 2.3 million of my people lived there. They asked the Federation for help. The Federation refused. You called our colony a strategic loss. A ripple of discomfort passed through the room. Several delegates looked away. I am not here to beg for help, Sun Wu continued. It is too late for that. The Vorath will destroy Korra 5 within 3 days. I am here to tell you that you made a mistake. The speaker's mechanical voice was cold. Ambassador, the Federation made a tactical decision. We cannot save every world. The Vorath are too powerful. Sending ships to Korra 5 would have resulted in greater losses. I understand your reasoning, Sun Wu said. I do not accept it. But that is not the mistake I am talking about. He paused. The room was silent. The mistake was telling Earth that there was no hope. The mistake was assuming that humans would accept this. A delegate from the Remnari collective made a sound like laughter. What will the humans do? Your military is small. Your technology is average. You have been part of the galactic community for only 200 years. You cannot challenge the Vorath. Sun Wu smiled. It was not a friendly smile. You may be right, he said. But I would not be so confident. You see, Earth has been silent for 6 weeks. No communications. No trade. No diplomatic contact. Every human ship has returned home. Every human station has gone dark. The council speaker leaned forward. We have noticed this. We assumed your government was in crisis. No, Sun Wu said. Not crisis. Preparation. Preparation for what? Sun Wu did not answer. He simply looked at the delegates with those patient eyes and said nothing. Far across the galaxy, on the blue planet called Earth, something was happening. In the Pacific Ocean, massive shipyards that had been hidden beneath the waves rose to the surface. Ships emerged from them, warships larger and more powerful than anything humanity had ever shown to the galaxy. They had been building in secret for decades, waiting for a day like this. In the deserts of Africa and Asia, factories that officially produced civilian goods switched to military production, weapons, armor, vehicles, everything a war machine needed. They worked day and night, every human who could hold a tool contributing to the effort. In orbit above Earth, the largest space station humanity had ever built came online. It was called the Hammer of Terra, and it was the command center for an operation that had no official name. The officers simply called it the Response. Admiral Junho Kang stood on the bridge of his flagship, the carrier Sun's Wrath. He was 60 years old, with a shaved head and a scar across his left cheek. He had spent his entire life preparing for this moment. "Status report," he said. His second-in-command, Captain Unji Seo, checked her console. "All ships have reported in. Admiral, 3,000 combat vessels, 200 planetfall carriers, total ground forces of 450,000 soldiers. We are at full readiness." Junho nodded slowly. "And the new weapons? Tested and ready. The Vorath have never seen anything like them. They will not know what hit them. For 50 years, Earth had been preparing for this. The Federation had always underestimated humanity. They saw a young species with a small military and average technology. What they did not see was the shipyards hidden underwater, the weapons developed in secret laboratories, the soldiers trained for battles that might never come. Earth had hoped they would never need to use these preparations. They had hoped the Federation would protect them, that diplomacy would keep them safe. But Earth had also known that hope was not enough. Hope had to be backed by strength, and strength had to be built in silence, away from the eyes of those who might try to stop it. Now, the time for silence was over. Commander Wusung An, the head of ground forces, entered the bridge. He was a large man with broad shoulders and hands that could crush steel. His soldiers called him the Mountain, and they would follow him anywhere. "Admiral," he said, "the troops are ready. My soldiers are asking when we leave." Junho looked at the star map on the main screen. Korra 5 was marked in red. A world under siege. 4,200 light-years away. "We leave in 6 hours, he said. "We will arrive in 3 days. Wusung smiled. It was the smile of a man who had been waiting his whole life for a fight worth fighting. "The Vorath think they are hunting farmers," he said. "They are about to learn what happens when you hunt the wrong prey." Back on Nexus Prime, the council session was ending. The delegates filed out, most of them already forgetting about the human colony and its dying people. The war against the Vorath was old news. Colonies fell all the time. It was sad, but it was normal. Ambassador Sunwoo remained in his seat. A delegate from the Elder Council approached him, a being of pure energy who had existed for 10,000 years. "Ambassador Han," the Elder said, "what is Earth planning? What is this preparation you spoke of?" Sunwoo stood and straightened his jacket. He looked at the Elder with eyes that held secrets centuries in the making. "You told us there was no hope for our people," he said. "You told us that Korra 5 was lost. You told us to accept this and move on." "Yes, that was our advice." Sunwoo smiled again, that same dangerous smile. "We do not accept it." He walked out of the council chamber without looking back. Behind him, the Elder watched with something that might have been confusion, or might have been fear. 6 hours later, the Earth Defense Armada entered hyperspace. Every human warship, every soldier, every weapon, humanity possessed, all moving toward a single point in the galaxy. The silence of Earth was over. The answer was coming. The sun rose over Korra 5 for what everyone believed would be one of the last times. Yuna stood at the entrance of the main underground shelter and watched the light spread across the ruined city. New Busan had been beautiful once. Now it was broken buildings and empty streets. Smoke rising from fires that never stopped burning. The Vorath patrol ships moved across the sky like metal birds of prey, waiting for the bombardment fleet to arrive. 3 days. That was all they had left. Taeho found her there, standing alone in the early morning light. He looked exhausted. They all did. 40 days of fighting had drained them of everything except the will to keep going. "Commander," he said quietly. "The scouts have confirmed it. The Vorath bombardment fleet entered the system 4 hours ago. 12 heavy destroyers and 3 planet killers. They will be in position by tomorrow night." Yuna nodded. She had expected this. She had prepared for it. But hearing the words still felt like a knife in her chest. "How many people do we have left?" "About 780,000. Most of them are in the shelters. The rest are in hiding throughout the countryside. 780,000 people. Less than a third of the colony's original population. The rest were dead or taken. Harvested, as the Vorath called it. turned into slaves, experiments, or something worse. And Do-hyun's fighters? 390 who can still fight, another 100 who are wounded but refuse to stop. Yuna turned to face Taeho. He was so young, only 25 years old. He should have been living his life, falling in love, building a future. Instead, he was preparing to die on a forgotten colony at the edge of space. Taeho, she said, have you sent a message to your family on Earth? He shook his head. I wrote one, but I have not sent it. It feels like giving up. Send it. Whatever happens tomorrow, they should know how brave you were. Taeho's eyes grew wet, but he nodded and walked away. In the medical bay deep underground, Dr. Minji was organizing supplies. She moved slowly, now the exhaustion had settled into her bones like ice. Around her, the wounded lay on beds made from salvaged materials. Some would live, some would not. She had stopped counting the ones she could not save. A nurse approached her. Doctor, we are running low on pain medication. We have enough for maybe 2 more days. Minji laughed. It was a hollow sound. That should be enough. The nurse looked at her with worry. Doctor, are you all right? No, Minji said honestly. I am not all right. None of us are. But we keep working anyway. That is what humans do. She looked at the rows of wounded people. Many of them were children, kids who had been hurt in the fighting, kids who had lost their parents, kids who would never grow up to see what they could have become. When I was young, Minji said softly, I became a doctor because I wanted to save lives. I wanted to help people. I thought I understood what that meant. She shook her head. I did not understand anything. Saving lives is not just about medicine. It is about fighting when there is no chance of winning. It is about standing with people when everyone else has abandoned them. It is about being human, even when being human hurts more than anything. In another part of the shelter, Heejin was working on her final project. The young engineer had not slept in 3 days. Her workspace was covered with wires, circuits, and stolen Vorath technology. Her hands moved with desperate speed. Sergeant Do-hyun stood behind her, watching. What are you building? A bomb, Heejin said without looking up. The biggest one I can make. When the Vorath come to inspect the ruins, I am going to blow up their entire ground command. That will not stop the bombardment. I know. But it will hurt them. It will make them remember us. It will make them afraid to attack the next human world. Do-hyun put his hand on her shoulder. It was a gentle touch, unusual for the hard old soldier. Your parents would be proud of you, he said. Heijin's hands stopped moving. Her parents had been taken in the first wave of the harvest. She had watched the Vorath drag them onto a transport ship while she hid in a basement, too scared to move. She had carried that guilt for 40 days. I could not save them, she whispered. No. But you saved others. You gave us weapons. You gave us time. You gave us a chance to fight back. That matters. Heejin. That matters more than you know. Tears ran down her face, but she kept working. The bomb had to be ready. That evening, Yuna called her commanders together one last time. Do-hyun, Minji, Taeho, Hyejin. They sat in a small room lit by emergency lights, the last leaders of a dying world. Tomorrow night, the bombardment begins, Yuna said. We cannot stop it. We cannot survive it. But we can choose how we face it. She looked at each of them. Do-hyun. Your fighters will hold the surface positions until the last moment. Make them pay for every meter they advance. Yes, Commander. Minji. Move the wounded deeper into the tunnels. If anyone survives the bombardment, they will need you. I understand. Taeho, keep broadcasting until the very end. Someone might hear us. Someone might remember. Taeho, I will not stop. Heijin, your bomb is our final message to the Vorath. Make it count. The young engineer nodded, her jaw set with determination. Yuna stood up. I want you all to know something. These 40 days with you have been the honor of my life. I have commanded soldiers before. I have led battles before, But I have never been prouder than I am right now, standing with you." No one spoke. There were no words left. The night passed slowly. People said goodbye to each other. Parents held their children. Friends embraced. Some prayed to gods they had not believed in for years. Others simply sat in silence, watching the stars through the broken ceilings of their shelters. Taeho sent his final message to Earth. Minji made her last rounds, checking on her patients one more time. Do-hyun sharpened his knife, a habit from his soldier days. Even though he knew it would not help against orbital bombardment, Haejin finished her bomb and sat beside it, too tired to sleep. Yuna climbed to the surface and watched the sky. Somewhere up there, the Vorath bombardment fleet was getting into position. In less than 24 hours, they would rain fire down on this world. Everything she had built, everyone she had fought to protect, all of it would be ash. She thought about Earth. She wondered if anyone there knew what was happening. She wondered if anyone cared. The sky was full of stars, cold and distant, beautiful and indifferent. "We did our best," she whispered to no one. "We did everything we could." She closed her eyes. And then something changed. A light appeared in the sky, then another, then 100 more. The darkness above Korra 5 began to glow with a strange, pulsing energy. Yuna opened her eyes. The sky was tearing open, and something was coming through. The sky above Korra 5 split open like a wound in reality. Yuna watched with wide eyes as the darkness filled with light. Hyperspace tunnels were opening, not one or two, but hundreds. The energy they released lit up the night sky brighter than any sunrise she had ever seen. Ships began to emerge, human ships. She recognized the design immediately, the sharp lines, the curved hulls, the symbols of Earth painted on their sides. But these were not the small patrol vessels she remembered from her military days. These ships were massive. These ships were weapons of war. They kept coming. Carriers the size of small cities. Destroyers bristling with guns. Fighters pouring out of launch bays, like swarms of angry wasps. The fleet spread across the sky, blocking out the stars, casting shadows over the Vorath patrol ships below. Yuna counted. She stopped counting at 500. The ships kept coming. In the underground shelter, Taeho stared at his sensor screen in disbelief. "Commander. Commander. Are you seeing this?" Do-hyun ran to his side. "What is it? What is happening?" Taeho's voice was shaking. "The Earth Defense Armada. The entire Earth Defense Armada. They are here. All of them. That is impossible. Earth does not have that many ships." "They do now." Minji emerged from the medical bay, drawn by the commotion. Haejin followed, her eyes red from sleeplessness. They gathered around the sensor display and watched as more ships appeared. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. "They came," Minji whispered. "They actually came." Haejin began to cry. She had not cried when her parents were taken. She had not cried when she thought they were all going to die. But now, watching the sky fill with ships from Earth, she could not stop the tears. "They came for us," she said. "They came." On the bridge of the carrier Sun's Wrath, Admiral Junho Kang surveyed the tactical display. His fleet had emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, spreading out to surround the planet. The Vorath bombardment fleet was directly ahead, 12 heavy destroyers and 3 planet killers, exactly as intelligence had reported. "Status report," he said calmly. Captain Yoonji Seo checked her console. "All ships in position, Admiral. Weapons armed and ready. Ground forces are standing by for deployment. Communications? Open on all frequencies. The Vorath are already hailing us." Junho nodded. "Put them through." The face of the Vorath Supreme Commander appeared on the screen. He was tall and gray-skinned, with 4 arms and eyes like black holes. He looked surprised, an expression Junho had never seen on a Vorath before. "Humans," the Supreme Commander said. "You are far from your territory. You are outnumbered. Turn back now, and I will allow you to leave with your lives." Junho smiled. It was a cold smile, the smile of a man who had spent 50 years waiting for this moment. "Supreme Commander, I am Admiral Junho Kang of the Earth Defense Force. You have attacked a human colony. You have killed human citizens. You have taken human slaves. You have refused all calls for surrender. He stood up from his command chair. I am not here to negotiate. I am here to end this. The Supreme Commander made a sound like laughter. You cannot threaten me, human. My fleet outnumbers yours 2-1. Your technology is inferior. Your species is weak. You are nothing but prey pretending to be predators. Junho's smile did not waver. You have 60 seconds to begin your retreat. If you do not, we will demonstrate why humanity has never been conquered. 60 seconds? You dare give me an ultimatum? I have destroyed 17 species. I have burned 1,000 worlds. You are farmers and merchants. You are nothing. Junho turned to his weapons officer. Countdown. 60 seconds, Admiral. The Supreme Commander's face twisted with rage. You will die for this insult. All of you will die. 50 seconds. I will burn your homeworld. I will harvest every human in the galaxy. I will make your species extinct. 40 seconds. The Vorath commander turned to his own officers and began shouting orders. His fleet started to move into attack formation. Weapons systems powered up across 12 destroyers and 3 planet killers. 30 seconds. Captain Yunji looked at the Admiral. Sir, they are preparing to fire. I know. 20 seconds. Sir, should we engage? Junho watched the countdown. His hands were steady. His heart was calm. He had waited 50 years for this. He could wait 20 more seconds. 10 seconds. Admiral. 5 seconds. The Supreme Commander fired first. Energy beams lanced out from the Vorath destroyers, streaking toward the human fleet. 0. Junho's voice was quiet. Return. Fire. The Earth fleet unleashed its fury. Weapons the galaxy had never seen tore through space. Kinetic accelerators fired tungsten rods at a fraction of the speed of light, punching through Vorath shields like paper. Swarm missiles launched by the thousands, each one guided by an AI that could adapt to enemy defenses in real time. Null field generators activated, creating zones where Vorath engines simply stopped working. The first Vorath destroyer exploded in less than 3 seconds. The second followed. The third. The fourth. The Vorath weapons struck the human fleet. They hit shields that should not have existed, technology that Earth had never revealed to anyone. The shields held. The ships advanced. In the underground shelter on Korra 5, the survivors watched their screens in stunned silence. They saw Vorath ships dying. They saw human ships cutting through the enemy fleet like knives through water. They saw the impossible happening. They are winning, Teho breathed. They are actually winning. Above them, the battle raged. The Vorath Supreme Commander watched his fleet crumble. 7 destroyers gone in the first minute. Then 8. Then 9. He tried to retreat, but the human fleet had surrounded him. There was nowhere to run. This cannot be happening, he said. This cannot be happening. You are humans. You are weak. You are nothing. Admiral Junho's voice came through the communication system. You were wrong about us, Commander. You thought we were prey. You thought we would surrender when you attacked our people. You thought we would accept the death of our colony as just another strategic loss. On the screen, 2 more Vorath destroyers exploded. But we do not abandon our own. We do not leave our people to die. Every human, on every world, in every corner of the galaxy, they are ours to protect. And when you touch them, when you hurt them, when you take them, we come for them. The last Vorath destroyer fell. Only the 3 planet killers remained, and they were running out of time. Remember this day, Junho said. Remember what happens when you threaten Earth's children. Remember, and be afraid. The planet killers tried to run. They did not make it. 11 hours after the Earth fleet arrived, the Vorath bombardment fleet was destroyed. Every ship, every soldier. Nothing escaped. The sky above Korra 5 grew quiet. The fires of battle faded, and for the first time in 41 days, the surviving colonists looked up at a sky free of Vorath ships. On the surface, Yuna fell to her knees. They came, she said, tears streaming down her face. Earth came for us, and in orbit above her, 3,000 human ships stood guard over their lost colony. The silence was over. Earth had spoken. The Vorath fleet in orbit was destroyed. But the battle was not over. Thousands of Vorath soldiers still occupied Korra 5. They held the cities, the factories, and the roads. They had camps full of prisoners waiting to be shipped off-world. The space battle was won, but the ground war was just beginning. Admiral Junho Kang gave the order. Begin planetfall. 200 carriers moved into position above the colony. Their massive hulls blocked out the sun as they descended through the atmosphere. Doors opened along their sides, and drop pods began to fall. They fell like rain, like fire from heaven, like the judgment of a species that had been pushed too far. Each pod carried 10 soldiers in full combat armor. The armor was heavy and powerful, stronger than anything the Vorath had ever faced. The weapons were new rifles that fired plasma rounds, grenades that created mini black holes, blades that could cut through Vorath skin like butter. Commander Wusong An was in the first wave. He landed in the ruins of New Busan, his boots crashing into the broken pavement. Around him, his soldiers emerged from their pods, weapons ready, eyes searching for targets. A group of Vorath soldiers came around a corner. They saw the humans and raised their weapons. They never got to fire. Wusong moved like lightning. His plasma rifle cut down 3 of them before they could react. His soldiers finished the rest. The whole fight took 4 seconds. Push forward, Wusong ordered. Find the survivors. Kill any Vorath that resist. The soldiers spread out through the city. They moved in perfect coordination, covering each other, advancing street by street. The Vorath tried to fight back, but they were overwhelmed. The humans were faster, stronger, and better armed. More importantly, they were angry. Every soldier in the invasion force had seen the reports from Korra 5. They had read about the massacres, the harvesting, the 40 days of terror. They knew what the Vorath had done to their people, and they had come to make the Vorath pay for every life taken. Captain Unji Seo led a fighter squadron through the atmosphere, hunting for Vorath ground vehicles. She found a convoy of transports trying to escape the city transports full of human prisoners. Target locked, she said calmly. Then she destroyed the escort vehicles and landed her fighters in front of the transports, blocking their escape. When the doors opened, 300 colonists stumbled out. They were thin and scared, their eyes full of disbelief. Unji removed her helmet so they could see her face. You are safe now, she said. Earth came for you. A woman fell to her knees and began to cry. A man grabbed Unji's hand and would not let go. Children ran to the soldiers and hugged their legs, not understanding what was happening but knowing somehow that the nightmare was over. Deep in the underground shelters, Sergeant Do-hyun heard the sounds of battle above. At first, he thought it was the Vorath advancing. He gathered his fighters and prepared for a last stand. Then he heard a voice on the communication channel, a human voice. This is Lieutenant Jin Woo of the Earth Defense Force. We are conducting rescue operations in Sector 7. Any survivors in this area, please respond. Do-hyun grabbed the radio. This is Sergeant Do-hyun Baek of the Korra 5 Resistance. We have approximately 5,000 survivors in the underground shelter beneath the central plaza. We need medical assistance and evacuation. Copy that, Sergeant. Hold your position. We are coming to you. Do-hyun lowered the radio. His hands were shaking. Around him, his fighters stared at him with wide eyes. Earth is here, he said. They sent an army. They are winning. For a moment, no one moved. Then Minji started to laugh. It was a strange sound, half joy, half disbelief. Others joined her. Soon the entire shelter was filled with the sound of people laughing and crying at the same time. 20 minutes later, the shelter doors opened. Earth soldiers poured in, their armor dusty from battle. Their faces tired but determined. Behind them came medics carrying supplies, engineers with repair equipment, and officers coordinating the rescue. A medic in Earth uniform approached a group of wounded colonists. One of them was Heijin, who had collapsed from exhaustion after finishing her bomb. The medic gently checked her vitals and began treating her injuries. "It is okay," the medic said softly. "Earth is here. We came for you." Heijin opened her eyes. She looked at the soldier's face, a young woman about her own age, with kind eyes and steady hands. "You came," Heijin whispered. "We thought everyone forgot us. We thought we were alone." "We thought we were alone," the medic shook her head. "You were never alone." The moment we heard what happened, the entire planet mobilized. Every ship, every soldier, every resource, we sent everything. "You are our people. We would never abandon you." Heijin began to cry again. She had cried more in the past hour than in the past 40 days combined. But these tears were different. These tears were relief. The ground battle lasted 18 hours. The Vorath fought hard, but they could not stand against the fury of Earth. Every position they held was overrun. Every soldier they sent was destroyed. By the end, there were no Vorath left alive on Korra 5. Wusong personally led the assault on the main Vorath ground command. The enemy commander tried to negotiate surrender. But Wusong remembered the reports of what they had done to the colonists. There was no negotiation. When the battle ended, he stood in the ruins of the enemy base and looked at the sky. The sun was rising over Korra 5 for the first time in 41 days, without Vorath ships overhead. He activated his communication link. "Admiral, ground operations complete. Korra 5 is secure." "Casualties?" Junho's voice came back. 312 killed, 900 wounded. "The colonists are safe." There was a pause on the line. Then Junho said quietly, "Good work, Commander. Bring our people home." In the central plaza of New Busan, survivors emerged from the shelters to see their rescuers. Earth soldiers stood guard, while medics treated the wounded, and engineers began repairs. Food and water were distributed, names were taken, families were reunited. Yuna walked through the crowd, still not quite believing what she was seeing. Around her, people were hugging soldiers, thanking them, crying on their shoulders. The soldiers accepted it all with patience and kindness, holding hands, offering comfort, being present. A young officer approached her and saluted. "Commander Park? Admiral Kang requests your presence aboard the Sun's Wrath. He wants to thank you personally for leading the resistance." Yuna looked at the officer. Then she looked at her people, the survivors of 41 days of hell. They were wounded and traumatized and broken in ways that would take years to heal. But they were alive. "Tell the Admiral I am honored," she said. "But I need to stay here. My people need me." The officer nodded with respect. "Understood, Commander. The Admiral says to tell you that Earth is proud of you. All of you." Yuna watched him go. Then she turned back to her people and began the long work of rebuilding. Earth had come for them, and Earth would never let them go again. 1 week after the battle, Admiral Junho Kang walked through the ruins of New Busan. The city was slowly coming back to life. Earth engineers worked alongside colonists to restore power and water. Medical ships in orbit treated the wounded who needed advanced care. Supply vessels arrived daily with food, medicine, and building materials. The scars of the Vorath occupation would take years to heal. But the healing had begun. Junho found Yuna standing at a memorial site, a simple wall where survivors had written the names of those who were lost. There were thousands of names. Some were complete families. Some were children. Some were heroes who had given their lives fighting back. "Commander Park," Junho said quietly. Yuna turned to face him. She looked exhausted, but there was something new in her eyes. Something like peace. "Admiral, thank you for coming." They stood together in silence, reading the names on the wall. "I wanted to ask you something," Junho said finally. "Why did you fight? You had no weapons. No fleet. No support. You knew the Federation had abandoned you. You must have known that Earth might not come in time. Why did you keep fighting?" Yuna thought about the question. She thought about the 41 days of terror. She thought about Do-hyun training farmers to be soldiers. She thought about Minji saving lives in a basement hospital. She thought about Taeho flying through enemy fire. She thought about Heejin building weapons out of scraps. Because that is what humans do. she said finally. We fight. Even when we cannot win. Even when there is no hope. We fight because giving up is worse than dying. We fight because that is who we are. Junho nodded slowly. I understand. Now I have a question for you, Yuna said. Why did Earth send everything? You could have sent a smaller fleet. You could have decided that one colony was not worth the risk. Why did you come with every ship you had? Junho looked at the sky. The Earth fleet was still in orbit, visible as points of light against the blue. Because you are ours, he said simply. Every human, on every world, is ours to protect. If we let even one colony fall without answering, then every human everywhere becomes less safe. The galaxy needed to understand that attacking humans has a cost. A terrible cost. He turned to face her. You did not just save your people, Commander. You showed the galaxy what humans are made of. Your 41 days of resistance gave us time to mobilize. Your bravery inspired our soldiers. You turned a slaughter into a victory. Earth owes you a debt we can never repay. Yuna smiled a tired, sad smile. I did what anyone would do. No, you did what a hero would do. There is a difference. Far across the galaxy, the Federation Council met in emergency session. The Great Hall on Nexus Prime was filled with delegates from every species in the Federation. They had gathered to discuss the events at Cora 5. The news had spread quickly: the human fleet, the battle, the total destruction of the Vorath bombardment force. No one had expected this. No one had thought it was possible. Ambassador Sun Wuhan took his place in the human section. He waited patiently while the speaker called the session to order. We are here to discuss the recent military action by the human homeworld, the speaker announced. Earth has revealed military capabilities that were not registered with the Federation. This is a violation of treaty protocols. The Council demands an explanation. Sun Wu stood. I will provide an explanation. You told us there was no hope for Cora 5. You called our colony a strategic loss. You advised us to accept the death of 2.3 million humans as an unfortunate but necessary sacrifice. He paused, letting the words sink in. We disagreed. A delegate from the Elder Council leaned forward. You concealed military capabilities from the Federation. You built weapons in secret. This is a betrayal of trust. Trust? Sun Wu's voice hardened. You speak of trust? When the Vorath attacked, we trusted the Federation to help us. When our people were being harvested, we trusted that our allies would respond. That trust was betrayed. You left our people to die. The hall fell silent. Earth has learned a lesson, Sun Wu continued. We have learned that we cannot rely on anyone except ourselves. We have learned that the galaxy will abandon us when the cost of helping becomes too high. So, we prepared. We built ships. We trained soldiers. We created weapons that could defend our people when no one else would. He looked around the room at the faces of beings who had existed for thousands of years. You call this a betrayal? I call it survival. I call it doing what we had to do to protect our own. And if the Federation has a problem with that, then the Federation can discuss it with our fleet. No one responded. No one challenged him. 3 months later, the Vorath Dominion sent a message to Earth. It was the first communication from the Vorath since the battle at Cora 5. The message was simple: a request for ceasefire. The Vorath would not attack human worlds. They would not raid human ships. They would not harvest human colonies. In return, they asked only that Earth not seek revenge for the 17 species the Vorath had conquered before. Admiral Junho read the message and showed it to the Council of Earth. They are afraid of us, one of the counselors said in amazement. The Vorath Dominion, the conquerors of 17 species, they are afraid of humans. They should be, Junho said quietly. They pushed us to the edge. Now they have seen what happens when we fall. The ceasefire was accepted. The Vorath stayed far from human space. 1 year after the battle, Heejin stood at the entrance of the Earth Defense Academy. She was 17 now, tall and strong, with eyes that had seen too much for someone her age. Behind her, the other recruits gathered for orientation. Ahead of her, The instructors waited to begin the long process of turning civilians into soldiers. A reporter approached her with a camera. "Miss Heijin, you are the youngest survivor of Korra 5 to join the academy. Why did you decide to become a soldier?" Heijin thought about the question. She thought about her parents, who she would never see again. She thought about the 41 days in the shelters, building weapons from scraps, fighting to survive. She thought about the moment when the sky opened and Earth descended. "Someone came for me," she said finally. "When I thought no one would. When I thought I was going to die alone. Someone came. Earth came. Our people came." She looked at the camera. "Someday, somewhere, someone else will be alone and scared and waiting for rescue. When that day comes, I want to be the one who comes for them. I want to be the one who shows them they are not forgotten." She turned and walked into the academy. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson that year. They had learned that humans were not the weak, young species they appeared to be. They had learned that attacking humans came with consequences. They had learned that when you push humanity to the edge, humanity does not break. The stars were cold and vast and full of dangers. But wherever humans lived, wherever they built their homes and raised their children, they knew one truth that would never change. When the last hope died, Earth descended armed from the sky, and Earth would always come for its own.